They watched him like he didn't belong. The kind of stare that stuck to your skin, like sweat in a hot room. Marcus Reed had felt it before, but today it sank deeper. He walked into Harding Supply Company just after 4 p.m., hoping to grab some paint, maybe a few brushes. His hoodie was speckled with drywall dust, boots heavy from a 12-hour shift on the construction site. To him it was just another errand. But to the staff, it was a problem. One employee, tall, pale, wearing a red apron and fake authority, shadowed him like a security guard, pretending to rearrange cans of WD-40 every time Marcus changed aisles. Another whispered into a walkie-talkie, their eyes never leaving his back. Still, Marcus kept calm. It wasn't new, he'd lived it before, but that didn't make it right. When he finally reached the checkout line, the cashier, Cindy, her name tag read, froze like he'd just handed her a live grenade. "Code 3 at register 2, she whispered into her walkie, barely audible. 2 more employees appeared, one positioned near the exit. Another flanked his left. Then came the manager. Big guy, buzz cut, clipboard under one arm and ego bursting from his chest. "Sir, I'm going to need to see some ID." Marcus looked confused. "For what?" "Security protocol," the manager said flatly. No alarm went off. "Doesn't need to," he said. "Just show your ID, or I'm calling the police." Something in Marcus stilled. He looked around, saw the way everyone avoided eye contact, heard the way silence fell like judgment. He slowly reached into his pocket, then stopped, looked the manager dead in the eye. "Let me guess. I look suspicious." "You said it," the manager replied. "Not me." Marcus let his hand drop. "You know what? Keep the paint." He turned and walked out, his breath cold in his chest, but his mind burning hot. He didn't film it, didn't shout, didn't curse. Instead, he made a call. "Yeah," he said into the phone. "Maple Street location. Harding Supply. Meet me there tomorrow morning. Bring the paperwork." There was a pause on the other end. "Is it time?" Marcus stared back at the store through the windshield of his pickup. It's time. What nobody in that store knew, not Cindy, not the employees, not even the manager barking orders, was that Marcus Reed wasn't just another customer. 3 years ago, he sold the patent for a drywall anchor he invented in his cousin's garage. The patent brought in a fortune, 7 figures, quiet money. Marcus never changed who he was. Still drove the same truck, still wore the same boots, still walked into stores like this one, and got followed like he was pocketing batteries. What had changed? He'd become the majority stakeholder in Harding Supply Holdings. 51%. That store, the one where they just tried to ID check him for buying paint, he owned it. Every store in the region reported up to his holding company, and every policy, from hiring to training to discipline, flowed from his desk. He never used his power to flex, until now. 24 hours later, he returned. Same hoodie, same boots, but this time he walked in beside Vanessa Ellison, his newly promoted executive VP. Sharp black pantsuit, hair pulled into a bun, clipboard in hand. Behind them was Marcus's lawyer, tall, silent, and carrying a briefcase that didn't need to open to intimidate. The manager at the front looked up from the counter, his face contorted as he recognized Marcus, but couldn't place the lawyer, or the woman beside him. "Can I help y'all?" Vanessa stepped forward without missing a beat. "Gather your team. Mr. Reed has something to say." "Mr. Reed," the manager repeated, almost scoffing. "You're joking." Marcus smiled just a little. "You called me suspicious yesterday, but I sign your check." Now the manager looked confused. Offended even. "Wait. What?" Vanessa opened her folder. "As of last quarter, Mr. Marcus Reed holds 51% equity in Harding Supply Holdings. That includes this store. That makes him your boss." The silence was thick enough to paint. Minutes later, the break room filled with confused staff. Marcus stood at the front. No podium, no microphone, just the weight of his presence. "Yesterday," he began, "I came here to buy paint, but I was met with fear, with judgment, with suspicion." He glanced at Cindy, who looked like she wished the floor would open and swallow her. "You judged me because of what I wore. Because of how I looked, because of your own bias. He turned slowly, eyes sweeping across the room. But the difference between us. You made assumptions, I made investments. Gasps rippled through the room. Vanessa took over, effective immediately. This location is under a formal investigation for discriminatory practices. Your manager is suspended. Company-wide diversity retraining will begin this week. The manager stepped forward, red-faced. This is outrageous. You're trying to embarrass me. Marcus cut him off. You embarrassed yourself. And just like that, the man's voice dried up. No threats, no shouting, just truth. After that day, word spread like wildfire. Marcus didn't post a video, didn't make a scene, but someone else did. A part-time cashier who witnessed the entire thing posted a thread on X. They treated him like a threat. Turns out he owns the company. He walked in like a ghost, walked out like a legend. The story went viral. Business blogs picked it up. Podcasters praised it. Entrepreneurs saluted him as the quiet giant who reminded everyone, power doesn't always look the way you think it should. But Marcus wasn't done. Weeks later, he launched a company-wide overhaul initiative, bias audits, mandatory staff education, anonymous reporting platforms, equity-driven hiring strategies, and in a bold move, he partnered with community colleges to offer retail internships to formerly incarcerated youth, giving second chances where others gave none. Still, Marcus stayed out of the spotlight. He kept fixing his grandmother's house, kept wearing hoodies, kept walking into stores like he didn't own them, until one day, he received an anonymous letter. No return address, typed, neatly folded, slid under his door like a threat dressed as formality. It read, "You may own the building, but some of us still run it. Watch your step." Marcus's eyes narrowed. He turned the letter over. Handwritten at the bottom was one word, scrawled in black ink, Code 3. He picked up the letter, stared out the window, because now, this wasn't just about paint. It was war. Marcus Reed wasn't the kind of man to ignore threats, especially not cryptic ones delivered in company language. The letter left on his car, unsigned but clearly from someone with insider knowledge, mentioning Code 3, sent a chill down his spine. That term wasn't public. It was internal Harding Supply lingo for an escalated customer threat. Someone from the inside was sending a message, and it wasn't a bluff. He called Vanessa the next morning. She arrived 2 days later with a grim look and an iPad full of bad news. The Code 3 term had only been used by a handful of supervisors and floor managers, all of whom had once worked under a man named Derrick Myles, the former regional manager who was fired the year before for harassment and misconduct. Somehow, security footage had caught Derrick wandering into one of the warehouses just last week, scribbling something, and slipping it into his jacket. He still had access, still had a key card, and he wasn't done. Marcus wasn't shocked. Angry, yes, but not surprised. Derrick had always been slick, manipulative, and vindictive. Now it seemed he was testing Marcus, waiting to see how far he could push before someone pushed back. Marcus called Aaron Vega, a retired investigator he trusted more than anyone. Aaron was sharp, unfiltered, and had once taught Marcus how to detect fraud in corporate patents. He arrived with old-school instincts and a trench coat like he'd stepped out of a noir film. "You've got a ghost in your house," he said simply. "Time to shine a light." Within a week, Aaron had uncovered more than Marcus bargained for. Derrick wasn't working alone. His brother Martin Myles had quietly secured a temp key contract at Harding's regional office 2 months earlier, giving him access to internal databases, memos and security feeds. Simultaneously, inventory logs showed massive irregularities across several stores, over $90,000 worth of supply. Discrepancies, all tied to one off-books location, Warehouse 6C in Southport Industrial Park. Officially, it didn't exist. It wasn't on the public-facing site maps. But Marcus knew it had once been used for sensitive storage. He didn't trust anyone else. So one night, with Vanessa and Aaron in tow, he drove to Warehouse 6C. No logos, no fanfare, just silence and suspicion. What they found inside was chilling, shrink-wrapped product duplicates, staged for resale, shredded complaint reports, and HR documents stuffed into plastic bins. This wasn't just theft, it was erasure. Someone was systematically removing the paper trail, and then footsteps. Voices echoed from the entrance. 3 men entered the warehouse, unaware they were being watched. One of them, tall, stocky, spoke about how Reed was getting too close. Another waved a phone flashlight. "Relax," he said. "By the time he figures it out, this place'll be empty." Marcus didn't need the light to recognize the voice. It was Derrick. He stepped out into the open calmly. "We need to talk," he said. The men froze. Then came a click, a sound everyone knew too well. From the shadows behind them, a red laser dot slid across Marcus's chest. A woman's voice rang out. "Nobody move." Out stepped a woman in a tailored jacket, badge glinting at her belt, but it wasn't Harding Supply Security. It was federal. "You're not the only one watching Derrick Myles," she said coldly. "But I'm afraid you're too late." She tossed a manila folder to the ground. Marcus opened it slowly, confusion clouding his face, until he saw the words stamped across the warrant inside. Suspected corporate conspiracy and fraud, Marcus Reed. He looked up. Everyone was staring at him. Vanessa whispered, "Marcus, what is this?" But Marcus had no answer. Because whatever game Derrick had started, it wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about taking everything from Marcus. And someone had just made their opening move. Marcus stood in that warehouse, folder in hand, feeling the weight of a setup crash down on him. The federal agent didn't blink. "You're under investigation, Mr. Reed. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy." Vanessa stepped forward, her voice tight. "You can't be serious. He's the victim here." The agent didn't move. "Tell that to the paper trail, bank transfers, ghost vendors. All roads lead to his account." Aaron pulled Marcus aside. "This is bigger than Derrick now. Someone's laundering money under your name. They're not just trying to ruin your reputation, they're trying to bury you." The news broke within hours. Local headlines screamed, "CEO of Harding Supply under federal investigation." Employees were blindsided, board members panicked, stock dipped, and Marcus. He was told to step down, temporarily, they said, for the sake of appearances. But Marcus had been underestimated before. While the media swarmed, Marcus went quiet. Vanessa and Aaron set up a war room in his apartment. No emails, no phones, just paper files, burner numbers, and one encrypted laptop. They combed through the records, every fake invoice, every suspicious transaction. One vendor name kept repeating, Shellcore Logistics. The company didn't exist. No website, no phone number, just a string of offshore bank wires and a leasing contract tied to a P.O. box in Derrick's hometown. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "We need to find the original documents, the ones Derrick shredded, but they were gone." Until Aaron made a call to an old friend, Jillian Wu, a forensic accountant turned whistleblower, who now ran a private archive lab. "If Derrick thought shredding meant deleting, he's dumber than I remember," she said. "Bring me the bags." 3 days later, Jillian had reconstructed over 200 pages of shredded documents using AI-assisted scanning and heat mapping. What they found? A clear timeline showing how Derrick, through Shellcore, funneled stolen inventory and laundered profits using Marcus's ID as cover. His login credentials, his signature forged using an old HR doc, but none of that mattered without leverage. So Marcus leaked it, not to the press, not to the board, to Derrick. An anonymous envelope, every document, every photo, a burner phone, with one message. "I know what you did, and now so do you." 2 nights later, Derrick called him, voice low, shaken. "You don't know what you're playing with, Marcus." "Oh, I think I do," Marcus said. Derrick scoffed. "You think this ends with me? I'm just a piece. They needed a fall guy. You were the golden ticket." Click. That was all Marcus needed to know. There were more players. But now he had the leverage. He contacted the federal agent, the same woman who'd thrown down that folder. "I have proof, but I'm not handing it over unless you hear everything. Not in a conference room, not in a boardroom, in public." He got his wish. 1 week later, Marcus sat down for a live broadcast interview. Every major network. Cameras rolling. And he didn't hold back. He told the story of the man called suspicious in his own stores, of the fake charges, the stolen identity, the conspiracy to erase everything he built. He held up a photo, one of the warehouse blueprints with shell cores scrawled across the margins. And then he said the name no one expected. Darren Copeland, board chair of Harding Supply. The room went still. Darren had always been the face of progress, the same man who once welcomed Marcus to the executive floor, with a handshake and a smile, now exposed as the man who orchestrated his fall. Marcus continued, voice steady. He needed me out, quietly, so he could sell Harding to a private equity firm overseas, without whistleblowers, without lawsuits, without me in the way. The interview went viral, and by morning Darren Copeland was trending for all the wrong reasons. A formal investigation was opened. Subpoenas, audits. Vanessa testified. So did Aaron. Even Jillian handed over her rebuilt files. Derrick tried to flee, didn't make it past the state line. He was arrested 2 weeks later, and flipped within 72 hours, gave up names, dates, accounts, and the playbook that almost buried Marcus alive. By month's end, Darren was forced to resign. Harding's board reinstated Marcus with an apology, a payout, and a prime-time press release. But he didn't go back. Marcus had spent too long building something for people who only saw him as a placeholder, a liability. So he sold his share, started something new, a business incubator for Black entrepreneurs in logistics and tech, real ownership, not tokenism, and he called it Suspicious Solutions. His first slogan, they tried to erase me, now I write the contracts. But the best part, every Harding store that once flagged him on site, now had a sign out front, bold red letters, proud partner of Suspicious Solutions, because sometimes the only way to win is to become the storm they tried to run from.